So I'm going to replace this heavy NX cassette with this lighter weight GX cassette. In order to do that, I also have to change the driver because the NX cassette uses the XD driver rather than the standard spline Shimano style driver. So let's go ahead and get to this install. Windy again up this trail. Woo! Might have to overshoot some of these this time.
Here we go, Chad. Oh.
Oh yes. Can't believe I just did that. Welcome to my channel. The first thing that I have to do is take the wheel off. So in order to do that, I want to drop it down into the smallest ring, which is the hardest gear, because that allows it easier to take the wheel off and get the derailleur out of the way and get the chain off. If it's in one of these bigger rings, it's a lot more challenging. So let's do that. So this being a through axle, I have to go over here and loosen the axle. Of course, you're going to hear dog barking in the background. And loosen the through axle. So as soon as I pull this axle out, the wheel will want to fall out. Then pull the derailleur out of the way like this, and the wheel slips right out. Super slick. It only works that good if you remember to go into the smallest cog on the cassette. So let's go ahead and remove this, do some cleanup, switch out the driver, all that stuff over here on the workbench. Okay, so I'm going to be out of the video here a little bit, but a couple of tools I want to talk about. One's called a chain whip. I don't know why they call it a whip. Probably because it's got a loose thing. And then the other tool is this one, which is the cassette removal tool, which is kind of cool because this is kind of the Shimano standard, but at least SRAM was nice enough to make this work with their new XD driver setup. So I've never actually installed an XD driver. I used this invention called YouTube, in case you've ever heard of it, to figure out how to install it. So first thing I got to do is remove this old cassette. So the reason why you need this chain whip is because you need to keep this from spinning when you're loosening the little lock ring on here. So when I try to turn this lefty-loosey, right, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, it will spin the chain. So what you got to do, or the cassette, what you got to do is take this chain, get a hold of that, try not to have a wrench behind the wheel. Now I have this lever here and I can keep the cassette from spinning when I loosen this, and so I just need to find a good arm position to try to do this. Sometimes I do it on the ground, but I'm trying to do it here in the video for you, so let's see. If it's on there real tight, I might have to go on the ground and do it. Yep, I think I'm going to have to go on the ground, so I'll show you how I do it on the ground. So basically, when I have it on the ground, I just have a lot easier leverage on it. So I can push there. Oh wow, that thing's... that's way on there. I don't know why that's so tight. It's like installed from the factory. What do they use? Some crazy impact wrench or something? Alright. One of the things I hate about this is I'll be pushing, and then when it breaks loose, my hand will go into the teeth here. So I need to figure out a better solution to get this off. So I haven't touched this since I got it from the shop. So this is probably factory installed. So it's kind of cool doing this on a channel and showing kind of some of the issues you can run into. So leverage. I just grabbed the big wrench, and when I did that, I broke it loose already, but I did manage to break it loose with the bigger wrench. So now, I don't know why it was that tight. I don't think they need to be that tight ever, but let's get back to the bench here and finish this work. Okay, so we're back to this where I couldn't get it on the desk or on the bench and did it on the ground, but now once you get this little lock ring piece off, it took off the little, I'm gonna need to take that off anyway. Now that that's off, the cassette should just come right off. I'm gonna put this kind of back on there because that's the next step to get the driver off. So then we should, and of course this is gonna be tough to do. So I'm gonna try, first I'm gonna try the rubber mallet. And lift this and just give it a ping. And then now I can slide this off. And the whole cassette comes off. This has multiple pieces to it. So I don't know if there's a way I can weigh this, but I can definitely compare the two in my hand. And I can tell that this is quite a bit lighter. It's not a huge difference, but it definitely is lighter. This outer ring on this one, on the GX, is steel, or aluminum, sorry. And the other ones are steel. And then this, everything is steel. And it's this outer ring that is the heaviest one, this 52. So that's why they made this one lighter weight. And then if we look at this one, you can see how much is cut out of here to lighten it up. And then we look at this one, there's still quite a few cutouts, but it's not the same system lightweightness. I mean, I don't, this GX one is just a lot better design. And I like how it's all one piece too. The issue is it won't go on this kind of driver. I'm kind of curious. Sometimes you can look at these and you can see how there's these grooves in here. Let me see if you can see that in the video. Let's get it close. So see these grooves in here? This is from me torquing. And so that's why it was hard for me to pop it off of there. So that's generally not a good sign. This is aluminum. And I think if you're going to have an aluminum cassette body, you should have an aluminum body that goes on there. But it is what it is. So we're going to go ahead and remove this and put the XD driver on here. So if you look at the new driver, you can see these pawls. And this is always the tricky part. I've had to put these back in before. You got to get these all pushed in and then push into the hub. So when I pop this one out, these are all going to release from that one, and then I'm going to have to figure out how to push these in and get them in there. It's not too hard, but sometimes they can be a little tricky. So we'll see how that works. Also, I don't know how pressed on this is going to feel. So I'm going to take this off. So one thing I do when I take things off is, because I will likely forget whether this goes on this way or that way, I'll make sure I set it down in the upright position where that needs to go on. And then I'm gonna, so this feels like it's just gonna come right out. And there's a little dirt cover on here. It's gonna come out with it. So let's go ahead and just pull it and see what happens. Yep, I just watched the pawls come out. There's an axle I have to get around. there we go. There's the paws. Take the dirt cover off. So maybe we can get a little closer and you can see kind of the grooves in there and kind of the, you know, when I'm pedaling. Yeah, looks pretty worn. So anyway, okay, so I want to put this new one in. One of the things I notice is it's very dry. So I'm going to grab some grease and put some grease all over it and just spread it around. I'm not too worried about, you know, I just feel like if I get enough grease on there and stick it in there, it will spread around once I start rotating it. So here's the tricky part, is getting these 4 things in. Oh, I was able to get it. Now if I spin it around a bunch, the grease will get all mushed around in there. Remember my little dust cover? I'm gonna look at it. It's actually, surprisingly, that's clean. I'm gonna put that back on. So, now that I have that all on there, feels really nice. I can go and find this piece, and remember I made sure it was rotated the right way. Clean the cayuna dirt off of it. I know it's cayuna dirt because it's red. And then thread this back on. And from everything I can tell, it's just, you hand tighten it. And there it goes. It's on there. So now I have the new driver on there. And I'm basically going to take the new cassette and place it over. And from everything I saw on this thing called YouTube, I basically take this and tighten it. And it'll lock on there. So the inside core of this cassette rotates and goes on the threaded part. So I can wiggle this and see that it's still a little loose. Keep going, and I don't have a torque wrench that'll fit over this. So from what I'm told, you don't want to just crank it as tight as you can, but you do want to get it pretty snug. I think they said 40 Newton meters. I don't know really what that is, but I'm going to guess. Click right there. Oh, it's like quiet. Interesting. Maybe because of all the grease I put in there, it made it really quiet. So it doesn't wiggle. Oh, I can hear it. It's just quiet because I put a gob of grease in there. All right. So there you go. That is officially changed over to a GX. And I had to change out the cassette body, and it was actually really easy to do. The hardest part was when that was torqued on there too tight and I had to get the big wrench to get it off. But everything else went on super slick. Easier than I expected it to. So let's get this back on the bike. So everything's going to be pretty straightforward at this point. Just thinking about it while I have the wheel out, why not do a little cleaning? It's kind of light down the inside. I'm not going to get too crazy with the cleaning. But there's a lot of red on here, which is cayuna. So it's much easier to clean this stuff when it's off the bike, at least the inside parts. Once I get all that, the rest of it's easier to clean even after I get the wheel in there. So Beth has this dog. It's called a Finnish Spitz. and it is crazy. Like, it just incessantly barks for no reason whatsoever, and then just will keep barking and won't stop. That's what you're hearing in the background every now and then. And I've gone up there a couple times to try to quiet her down, and she just absolutely refuses. So I kind of give up. I'm just going to let her bark in the background of my video. Nothing I can do about it. That's what I get for not having my own place. But I will soon, at some point. Okay. As soon as I hit the play button, it's almost like she knows. Alright, let's put this wheel on. Gotta get the brake lined up. Pops right in there. Get the axle in. So the final step of this, once I get the wheel in, is going to be checking the gears to make sure they're still lined up and shift, and they should, but doesn't mean they will. Get that chain back on. Alright, so there you go. Switch out the cassette to GX, and I probably will at some point get a GX rear derailleur, but this is an NX and it is Eagle, and the Eagle is compatible with Eagle, so it will work for now. Let's come over here and test. All the way to the big one. A little slow coming down. Turn that in a couple clicks if I can. Oh, it's all adjusted. I'm not sure, it's hard to tell sometimes in the stand if you need to adjust the gears or not. Usually when you're actually on the bike pedaling, but I'll fine tune that later. It's pretty close. But this is good to go. Liking it. I'm going to try to shave some weight off this bike. I'm probably going to go with a different crankset. These NX cranksets, they're pretty much bomb-proof, but I want something lighter. I really like the race face turbine cranks. I know they're not like a downhill or enduro crank, but they'll be good enough for what I use it for. I might put some of those on there. We'll see. And this bike's never going to be light, but I want it to be lighter than it was. So thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.